Geeks, nerds, gamers, and trolls. This is your MMOBomb.com first look at Evil Dead, the game. It was released earlier this year on the Epic Game Store. It's developed and published by Saber Interactive. I am the man, the myth, the legend, the noob fridge. And we're going to take a first look at Evil Dead, the game, see what all it has to offer. Hope you decide if it's a game that you might want to download and try for yourself. It is buy to play. It is regular price $39.99 for the standard edition. Although this week it happens to be on sale, so if you catch it during the week that this video is released, you can catch a sale price of 25% off. This is a game that I have been thoroughly enjoying my time in. Tweeted out last weekend that this is probably the most fun I've had doing a first look game. If you want to compare this to Dead by Daylight, that would be a fair comparison. 4v1 horror survival, except it's set in the Evil Dead universe with, of course, Ash versus the Evil Dead, Army of Darkness. Those movies are the setting for this fantastic game. In this video, I am playing my favorite survivor, Henry the Red. 4 players play survivors. 1 person plays the Kandarian Demon and is roaming around, gathering up power nodes and interfering with our plans to banish the darkness back to the dimension from which it came. Survivors spend the first part of the game gathering map pieces from around the map, and those map pieces, once 4 are gathered, are going to show you where the Kandarian Dagger and the pages to the Necronomicon are located. You're going to have to go and activate each one of those individually, defend waves of enemies as well as the Kandarian Demon player, dropping little surprises on your head. To gather those, then you go and fight the darkness with the Kandarian Dagger, and then you have to keep the Kandarian Demon from destroying the Necronomicon. If the demon destroys the Necronomicon or downs all 4 players before time is up, the Kandarian Demon wins. If the survivors survive all of that and defend the Necronomicon successfully, they will be victorious. Each round, the survivors have 30 minutes to complete all of their tasks. If they do not complete their tasks in time, the Kandarian Demon also wins. As you can see in the footage, there's also vehicles out in the world. You can get in those, drive those around. You can get as a whole group in one vehicle or take separate vehicles. They're found randomly around the map. Also, let it be known that the demon can possess vehicles as well as evil trees, so the demon can get in these vehicles and try to run us down or just drive the vehicles away. That way we can't use them, making it take longer for us to get to wherever we're trying to go. It's a neat little touch to the game, letting the demon drive the vehicles. And we'll take a look at some demon footage here momentarily of me playing the Kandarian Demon as well. As you're roaming the world looking for these map pieces, you're gathering weapons, Battle Royale style, finding a mix of melee and ranged weapons. You can carry 1 melee weapon and 1 ranged weapon with you at all times. You can swap those out when you find a new weapon. They have different varieties. They have common all the way up to legendary. They have hammers and sledgehammers and swords and crossbows and shotguns and all types of different weapon variety that you can play. And there's 4 classes in the game: leaders, warriors, hunters, and supports. Started to say survivors. Supports. I am a warrior, so I am very heavily melee focused. I do really good with melee abilities. And as I level up my character, and yes, you level up as you play, you get access to a skill tree. I can make myself more powerful as far as melee is concerned, especially with 2-handed weapons. My skill tree really leans heavily into that later on. So while I will carry a ranged weapon around with me if I find one that nobody else needs, generally I'm using melee for the most part, unless I've got just a good opportunity to take something out from range. Switching over now to some demon footage. I like that the demon itself zooms around like the camera does in the Sam Raimi films, where they sort of zoom through the forest and stuff to sort of represent the demon sort of following Ash and his crew. And the normal perspective of the demon is that until, like you can see, I've gone in, I've possessed a Deadite, and I'm going to take her around and see if I can attack somebody with her. Also, you'll see these red orbs on the ground. That's what I'm trying to gather. That's my power. As I gather more of that, I'm able to do more things. It's sort of like a dungeon keeper type scenario where I'm possessing Deadites to go in and attack because they're a little stronger when I have possession of them. I'm trying to drop fear traps and portals to open to let other Deadites in around where the survivors are at. And if a survivor gets scared enough, they have a fear bar. If they are alone or surrounded by lots of enemies or fall into one of these fear traps, if their fear gets too high, I can possess one of the survivors for a short period of time and really wreak some damage, especially if they've got some good gear and the rest of the team isn't expecting it. To be able to have one of the survivors turn on his own friends is a lot of fun. There's 3 different types of Kandarian demon that you can play. The one I'm playing now is the more typical Deadite type Kandarian demon. Then there's also the Puppeteer that focuses more on possession. And then there's the Warlord who focuses more on bolstering the minions and the Deadites that it brings into the world. All 3 can do all of the basic stuff like setting the fear traps that are positioned out around the world, opening portals on top of the survivors. You can do standard portals or more expensive as elite portals. And as you go around and as time passes and as you do more to interfere with the survivors, you're going to level up and you're going to be able to open a little in-game upgrade system where you can sort of bolster your normal enemies, your elite enemies, your boss that you can summon, and make yourself more powerful. And the survivors have that ability as well. They have a little in-game upgrade system that resets in between each game, and they can increase their fear resistance, increase their health, increase their melee range damage, things like that. And as I said, outside of the game, you've also got your level up skill tree, which is a permanent set of upgrades. You can respend skill points. You can unspend those and respend those back and respec if you want to. But there's just a small in-game upgrade system that resets every time. And then there's the big skill tree outside of the game, which is permanent. It sticks with you until you respec it out. So let's go ahead and take a look at the skill tree real quick while we're talking about it. So let's go to my favorite guy, Henry the Red here. He's got his own personal skill tree outside of the game. As I level up, I gain skill points. You can see there in the bottom right-hand corner, and I can spend them up here in this skill tree. Also, I'll level up. You'll see those automatic passives that I get over on the left-hand side. So the next time I hit a level up mark of the proper level, I'll get another passive automatically, and then I can pick and choose and respec if I want to where my skill points are going as I level up. This footage was recorded pretty early on, so I've only got a couple of skill points to spend here, but I've unlocked all the way up to the 4th tier, I believe, of the skill tree now. So I've played a lot more since I recorded the footage. I just like to record my footage early on, and it's just a lot of fun to capture that early experience. Plus, that's what a first look is supposed to be. We're showing you the first little bit of gameplay, so that's what I like to show. Then play a little longer to get a little more experience with the game so I can let you know what's coming up. As I said, each of the 3 demons also have their own skill trees. So as you play each type of demon, you can level them up and use their skill tree as well.
Raymond Noby.
Now for your viewing pleasure, I present the opening minutes of a game. That way you can see what that's like. Just spawned in, got 30 minutes to go, looking for loot crates. Sometimes items are just on the ground.
There are several pieces of a map
your in-game experience.
Gather them to ascertain the location of the lost pages of the Necronomicon and Kandarian
Every once in a while, a demon will drop something when you kill one of those. So it's it feels pretty, typical survival battle royale right now. Where you're just kind of running around gathering equipment. You can gather the weapons, you can gather shimp colas to restore health, you can gather amulets that give you shields that you can activate. All the typical equipment you would expect to gather in a game such as this. So why do I like this more than Dead by Daylight? This is by no means a perfect game. There's some issues with picking up items sometimes, especially if you're the demon. You're trying to set a trap or possess an evil tree or something like that. If something else is too close, you have a hard time actually being able to activate the thing that you want to interact with. And it can be actually pretty frustrating because it's going to burn if you're doing the wrong thing. Like I've tried to activate a trap before that was in the vicinity of a tree that I could possess, but not necessarily right beside of it. But every time I would try to activate this trap, it would make me possess the tree. Well, that eats up my infernal energy. Well, then I got to go gather orbs again. So that can be a little frustrating. Frame rates can drop a little bit every now and then. Overall, it's run fairly well. The game just has a few kinks here and there. Can be a little janky every once in a while, especially as a demon trying to interact with things. But other than that, I really enjoy the setting of the game. I like the characters, I like the classes, and I like that the Kandarian Demon is, instead of more of a monster on the field at all times, like in Dead by Daylight a lot of times, I like that it's more like a dungeon keeper type scenario where they're roaming around and they're gathering up energy and they're dropping portals on us sometime to try to slow us down, and then they'll possess a car and take off in that, and they'll possess a tree and smack us with that, and they're sort of running around more messing with us, sometimes indirectly more than directly, and I think that's a lot of fun as the demon. Instead of just running up and just always it's smack, smack, smack the survivors in the head, actually messing with them a little bit, trying to get their fear level up so you can take one of them over. Lots of different strategies you can use. We've just been beat straight down before by Kandarian Demon players. We've had them use the fear mechanic to take advantage of us. I believe this may be the game. I don't think we'll make it that far into it, but I believe this is the game where by the end we're all afraid. I end up being taken over. I have some points at this point in the game. I've got 3 or 4 skill points spent in melee attack, and he just uses me to just walk the rest of the team, and then I follow. And that's how we lose this. Another disadvantage you might run into, in all honesty, is if you're a newer player and you happen to get grouped with more experience. I've had, since I was lower level, just getting started in the game, I run into like demon players that were all the way maxed out to level 25 or whatever the max level is, and their enemies were just too powerful. I couldn't do a lot for them because I don't have a lot of skill points invested to really bolster myself up. And on the other hand, I've played as the demon, and I've played against low-level characters, and it was pretty fair competition. I felt like I was at the something. And then I've been paired with a bunch of less than 25 survivors, and felt like I couldn't do anything because I only had 1 or 2 skill points to spend, and my guys weren't really all that impressive compared to, you know, the passives that they've got in their skill tree. My guys just couldn't stay alive long enough to really accomplish anything. So as a new player, it might be a little frustrating. So far, the leveling process has been fairly fast. It's quite a bit
Your group has found the first hidden piece of the map. Keep moving and find another.
Score-wise, and you do that by killing enemies, using your finishers, gathering up the stuff up in the game. There's lots of ways to gain extra XP and get yourself leveled up. So it might be a little bit of a grind to get caught up a little bit, get some of those points that you can spend to get yourself in some of those fights that maybe you were struggling with early on. The last game mechanic I want to talk about is the store does have sales skins.
We're not leaving a trail of blood and guts behind us. We're keeping Michigan
more. Missions in the game to unlock them, which is little single-player adventures. And I will have to say, the first one of those that I tried, it was tough, and I failed miserably live on stream. I died a horrible death because it was really tough. So I've got to go back and really focused to get that done. I thought I would just sort of cakewalk through it, you know, but that's not what happened. I got my
I marked a
head
spot
beat
on
in,
the map, so you
basically,
know it's good.
by the time I got to the second little mini boss. So, and to unlock other characters that are in the game, you just do missions in the game. If you want some cosmetics, you can go to the Epic Store and buy some cosmetic bundles. They've got some individual cosmetics that are like 1 skin for like $2.99. They've got some group bundles that are like $7.99 and $9.99 that contain, you know, a few different skins, including some demon skins. Overall, I think the game could use a little coat of polish. It's got a few little kinks here and there in the armor, but other than that, it's a fun gameplay experience. It's a fantastic setting. It's a great game mechanic. The way that it works. So far, I haven't noticed a distinct advantage to one side or the other. It all just depends on whether the survivors group up and do well. It is cross-playing, so you're going to be playing with people on PlayStation, PC, as well as Xbox. And there'll be little icons beside them so you can tell what they're playing on, which is really cool. It's got a pretty good player base. I haven't had any trouble finding matches so far. I've had to play in the middle of the day. I've played matches that were like 5 or 6 of us that were we shall break their ranks together for a few matches in a row. Absolutely wrecked us. It was our team in like 3 minutes. row. And I was like, it's time to take a break now because I can't do nothing with weekly. But you got to stick together. You got to work together. You can communicate. There is voice chat in the game. You can either leave the mic open, which some people unfortunately do, and you can hear their game, or you can just turn on push to talk like a civilized person. Well, that's our first look for Evil Dead the game, now available on the Epic Store. Normal price is $39.99 for the standard edition. Like I said, it's on sale this week. You can check that out over on the Epic Game Store. Thank you so much for checking out this first look. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Always head over to MMOBomb.com for the latest online multiplayer news and information. I've been the new Chris Whiteburn. You can follow me on Twitter at Twitch. Thank you so much for watching. This first look is done. I'm out.
All hope is lost!